Hey there, everybody. I am super excited today to talk a little bit about indexing and how that can make your nature journal so much cooler, so much more organized, and how it can actually be a beautiful element and help you find your memories. Because a lot of people that I've talked to mention that one of their favorite things about having a sketchbook or a nature journal is that they can look back and remember the things that they experienced. So it doesn't necessarily have to look as colorful as this one. That was on a trip to Ecuador. This was another one from that same trip to Ecuador, and you can see this one's not as colorful, but things are organized, and I use sort of a sketchnoting technique. So I'm going to be doing that with you today and going through my Grand Canyon book and adding an index. I did a previous video about indexing, and this one's going to be somewhat similar, but you can see here, for example, it's really easy to look at this page and see, oh, pages 34 through 37, there's snake patterns. On page 27 through 28, it talks about keto nights. 29 through 31, orchids. So for example, you can just get to that memory so quick, 34, 37, and it helps you just organize, because at a certain point you're going to have so many journals that it's hard to find those pages, but it's so easy for me to get in here and find these really cool memories, some of which I had forgotten about, or see techniques that I used. And that's one really fun aspect of having an index. You can also find things that are purely practical, or have different ways of, recording your travel reflections. And I think this is a way that your nature journaling can improve so much faster, because you learn from what you do. So for example, I can go to that page 33. And on that page, I have all of these things from that trip that I learned. So for example, I didn't use my micron pins very much. And so having an organization like that, and then using your index, it helps you learn faster and improve in your nature journaling. So, and you can see on this one, I made a whole, basically a whole art project out of the index page. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go through my Grand Canyon nature journal and add an index to that. So I've got enough chocolate, hopefully for today. 3 bars should be enough. And something that I'm considering doing every Sunday. Let me know if this is something that you would be interested in. If I every Sunday do a live show where I talk about the nature journaling that you can do from the studio at home. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. There is a chat box on the side here. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can post comments there and I will answer them. So I'm going to go ahead and put away these Ecuador nature journals and switch to my document camera. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go along through these pages and in real time add an index. So you can see here's my Grand Canyon sketchbook. These are all the pages. And you've probably seen some of these pages already. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, in pencil, add a small page number here in these bottom corners. That way they won't really show up and take away from the finished journal. And then back here in the very back, I reserved a page for the index. And this is where I'm going to be filling in an index. And maybe it will be as cool as the one from Ecuador. Maybe it won't be as cool, but I'm not going to be too hard on myself about that. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. So if you have any questions or any comments, go ahead and post them. If you are on YouTube, I will be able to see your posts. If you're on my Facebook page, I will be able to see your posts as well. If you're on the Nature Journal Club page, I might not be able to see your questions, but I will get back to them as soon as I can, so after the video. And like I said, I got my chocolate here, so you can watch the disappearing chocolate bar. Whenever you're working in the Nature Journal studio situation, it's essential that you have chocolate. I mean, it's good to take with you to the field also. But one thing I was noticing is I did spill some chocolate on my pages the other day, and it got rubbed in. So you have to watch out for those little flecks of dark chocolate. And the art tools that I'm going to use today are, I've got these Tombow pens, really like them for things like this. And I use these pale ones to add in sort of compositional elements in the background. They're really good for that. I like this pale peach colored one and this pale gray. These are the numbers if you decide you want to order those. And then of course I'm going to be using this, and then I just have a regular mechanical pencil with 2B lead, I think, and it is size 0.7, which is better in my opinion. So first I'm going to create a little bit of a title page here, have a little bit of fun with that. And if you didn't know, the Latin root for an index is the same as your index finger, because it points to things and helps you find things. So I'm not going to talk through this whole video because I'm going to be focused on doing this, but you can follow along with me at your own leisure and learn. You can also go back to parts of the video. This video will be up for you to watch later if you want to get inspiration. Sometimes adding an index into your nature journal doesn't seem like the funnest thing at first, but if you can get into it, it's very fun and also very useful. Trust me. I love these Pilot brush pens. They're just, you can really get some great black ink effects and line variation too. So you might not be able to see this in the video, but I had blocked in this title in my Tombow. It comes out really pale. You might see a little bit of this pale color. And I use it the way some people use the non-photo blue pencil, and it's really helpful for my layouts. I actually like how it fades into the background but leaves a little bit of color that you can actually see. And I use that a lot for lettering, and I think having a hierarchy in lettering is really important. And so you can see here that there's a little bit of that pink still there, but I would block in this page and show you what I mean by how this Tombow pen can be used. But the thing with your index is you don't really know, some of the organization is going to be emergent, so you don't really want to add in too much information. It is possible to get precious with your index, so that's something we're going to want to watch out for, especially if you've filled your nature journal with a ton of cool pages and now you get to this last page and you feel like you need to make something beautiful on this page. If you're too precious, you're not going to get the benefits out of an index. So be wary of that. One thing I'm going to talk about in a future episode is how you can keep a piece of paper over here on the side and just do like scribbles and doodles on it. And whenever you're feeling precious, you can just, if you're feeling precious, you can just come over here and start doing doodles there to work out your ideas. And since it's not on your actual nature journal page, you won't feel so worried about the outcome of it. So I'm going to have this little piece of paper here next to me. Wish my camera would focus back in here. This is my sort of impromptu, improvised document camera here. Come on. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Come on. I don't know why it does that sometimes. All right, well, I'm just going to go ahead and add all of these page numbers in to the book. Yay, and the camera came back. If you have any questions about indexing or anything else, you can go ahead and post them in the comments section. And while I'm doing this, you get sort of like a free page flip of all of my Grand Canyon pages. Actually, some of these are from before the Grand Canyon. You can definitely do this before. I probably should have just added all these page numbers in before. Ooh, dead pelican. Cool. You can also just write in like the odd numbers or the even numbers and you'll figure it out. That was a really cool spider that I got to draw. Thanks to Child of Arachne on Instagram. That was her photo. So I made the choice to put my Grand Canyon sketchbook in the same sketchbook that I had been already using. I knew I had enough pages, or I thought I had enough pages left for the Grand Canyon, and I think that was probably a good idea. Sometimes you can create a sketchbook or a nature journal that's just for one particular trip. I'm not always a big fan of that. I think what ends up happening is you can get really precious about it if it's just for one trip, and you might also skip pages or not work at your normal pace because you're trying to have a book just for one trip. So a lot of times I think it blurs over from one trip into another, at least for me. So now these are the actual Grand Canyon pages starting here. Let's see if we can do something about this light. Nine. I'm going to be talking about, I was calling it homework usually, and that's the type of nature journaling that you do at home. And I'm going to be talking about that a lot more in the future. And I think it's something really important. I'm going to start calling it studio work instead, I think, because I think homework has a negative connotation for a lot of people. And studio sounds so cool. So a lot of this work, like for example, these scorpion drawings, a lot of these were done at home after, oh no, I got chocolate on the page. See, that's what I was talking about. This is from the other night. I was doing studio work and eating chocolate, of course. And see, I got a little bit of chocolate on the page right there, which is kind of annoying. But if your nature journal goes on adventures with you, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. 7. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about, if that's something you're interested in, let me know. If you're interested in Studio Sundays, it's something that I'll start doing more of in the future. And I am planning on doing live nature journal videos every Sunday for the rest of the year. It's a good winter thing to do. There's still pages in here that I need to add to. That was a fun drawing to do. Pika Pika is asking, is this live? Yes, this is live. This one, all the drawings on that side. That was quite an experience. Pika Pika, you might be the only one commenting. Pika Pika on YouTube is asking, am I the only one here? No, I think there are other people, but no one's commenting. Sometimes on mobile devices, people can't comment. The commenting feature on mobile devices doesn't work for some reason. And sometimes on different platforms, it doesn't work either. So I'm just adding these page numbers. So this video is not going to have a ton of talking during some parts of this. I'm just going to be doing the work, so you can follow along if you want to. Okay, great. Ta-da! Oh, someone is breathless. I'm glad. I can't tell who your name, because sometimes Facebook users, it doesn't show their name. I'm glad to be back also, and I can't tell if you're being ironic about being breathless. As I excitingly add page numbers. So here's something that I want to talk about a little bit here. My first 2 pages in this journal, or actually even more, are completely blank. Sometimes that's something I do at the beginning to deal with the difficulty of starting a new sketchbook, and I made a whole video about this. But sometimes it's intimidating to start a new sketchbook on the front page, because you're going to feel like you have to make a great drawing right there on that first page. So what I often do, and I know other people do this as well, is skip in some pages, and that way you don't have to start off on that very first blank page. So then the problem though is that hopefully you go back and do something with that page. And I've talked about like what are some of the good things to do on those pages. One thing, you can set up your sketchbook under some dappled sunlight coming through a tree, and then you can draw those abstract patterns, semi-abstract patterns on the page, and then color that in, and that creates sort of this cool look. And that's one thing you can do. And that's just an idea for filling the front of your book. So now I'm going to go ahead and start going through the pages that are in here that have content. And then what I'm going to do is show you how I come up with my system for indexing them. So I basically don't have anything until page 4, but I'll leave some space and I'll come back in here. And I'm just going to go straight with ink because I'm trying not to be precious right now. So I'm going to use this gray ink from this lovely Pilot pen that I have, and I'm going to just do some numbers here for the beginning. And sometimes I look to see if there's a couple things that are kind of similar, and I see they are. This is some homework that I did before my trip, and I was trying to draw these 3-dimensional geological diagrams that JP shared with me. And so I am going to I am going to go ahead and incorporate this into my index. So this is pages 4 through, let's see here, 4 through 6. 4 through 6. So I'll come up here, back here, I should say, 4 through 6. And then what I'll do is, instead of just writing what this is, I'm going to look at this and see if there's, how could I create a symbol for what these drawings are about, what these pages are about. And maybe if I just, oops, and I smudged the ink. 4 through 6, and I'm just going to draw like a, let's see, I'm going to draw like a 3-dimensional landform for this. Easier said than done, right? Oh, terrible. But don't get precious at the beginning. Okay, so here's my little landform thing, and I'm going to say pre-trip, because this was a pre-trip exercise. Pre-trip practice. Gosh, my light is really not working. Pre-trip practice landforms. All right, see that? Okay, so then that's 4 through 6. And see, look, all all you need is some crappy drawing of like a sort of like a symbol showing what you're going to have on those pages. It doesn't need to be perfect. And if you start getting too worried about it being perfect, you're not going to do anything. So on this page, this is pretty much all writing, but it's this surf journal exercise I'm doing with this kid that I'm teaching about journaling. So I'm just going to write surf journal over here, and that's something small. So, or maybe I can come up with a symbol to represent surf journal and then repeat that. That could be kind of cool. So I'm going to make like a little wave here, and I might need to make that one smaller later on, but you can see I'm going to use that wave for page 7. 8 is just this drawing of a plant outside my house, sort of like a contour drawing. Oh, and this is surf journal again. I should have probably, one thing you can do is make like this is sort of like what they would call a collection in bullet journaling. So what I could do is instead of just writing 7 there, I could write all the numbers. So if I know that I'm going to have a surf journal entry again on page 9, then I could just write 7, comma, 9, comma, there's probably going to be more. This is a crab nature journaling. So you have to get, an index only works if you are making a hierarchy of information. So if like on the index page for this surf journal, I just write down every single thing that me and that kid nature journaled out there or wrote in our surf journal, then there's no point. The whole point is that there's less information and it's in a hierarchy of what's important. So you have to kind of choose what's essential. So like for page 10 here, this is, I'm just going to draw like a crab claw, but I don't want to, if I had like 3 pages of nature journaling crabs, then I would maybe like make this a bigger thing, but it's up to you to decide what's important on your pages and what's not. All right, I'm going to look at some of the comments here and see. Okay, someone asked why I'm only numbering every other page. Well, it's not really necessary. Like if you just write the page number on the odd pages or on the even pages, you'll be able to guess what the other ones are. And let's see. Okay, so Pika Pika, thanks for subscribing. I'm glad that you love art. And just so you know, welcome to the channel and everything. And I also think that drawing is something, I appreciate that you think that I'm really great at drawing. And I also, you know, want to show you that I have drawings that aren't especially good either. And I think part of what it is practice. So none of us come out of our mom, pop out just drawing like Leonardo da Vinci. It's all about practice. So I might be good at drawing some things, and that's probably from practice, but there's other things, you know, that are really challenging to draw. So for example, some of these angles on this lizard head are really hard, and the way that I get better, and you can get better too, is by doing something over and over again. So this head shape was really challenging for me, and if you had a picture of the alligator lizard next to this, you would see it doesn't really look like that. But see how I didn't stop there and decide that I wasn't good at drawing lizards. What I did is I repeatedly drew it over and over again, tried to understand the basic shapes behind it, and in that way I'm hoping to get better. You can see the same thing going on here with these bromeliad leaves. These are really hard to draw in perspective, and so what I did is I just spent some time repeatedly doing that. So thanks for subscribing, Pika Pika, and posting some comments there. Really appreciate it. And just so you know, you can have a creative journal like this also, and being good at drawing is from practice, and I don't think anyone is naturally just good at drawing. It takes practice. And I see Marcus is on here too. Hey Marcus, thanks for joining in. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So I got the crab page. One thing you can do, and you know, you probably all know that I love sticky notes already, and you can use a sticky note in the back so it's easier to get to your index. Some people also might want to do their index like as they're going through their book. So for example, when you first started this nature journal, you could be indexing it as you go. So like when you do after page 10, you did this whole thing about the crabs, you could go to the back of your journal and write that part in the index right away. Okay, so here's more surf journal pages. I can see I did some studio work on this when I researched a little bit about the physics of waves, which was really cool. So let's see, page 11, page 12, all about waves, 11 and 12. So I'm going to add that to this one here, 11, 12, and maybe I'll add in something about the physics of waves so I can find that more easily. So one thing you want to pay attention to is how much space you're taking and how many pages you have for your index. So for me, I have 2 full pages and my book's about 100 pages. So if I'm getting close to the end of this page and I'm still not even close to page 50, then I need to be careful because I'm going to run out of space. Okay, page 13, 14 is Nature Journal Every Day. That was this challenge that I was doing. Do y'all remember when I was doing that? 13, 14. I mean, I've done that several times, but that was kind of hard actually. And then I'll put a little note, lizard and leaf. So this was when I was just trying to nature journal every single day. Sometimes it was just something really small, like that landscapito. Here's something that I'm going to read to you. This is kind of funny. This is when I was trying to nature journal every day, and I don't think I was feeling really inspired. This night I got home after work. It was already dark. So all I did was nature journal my houseplant, wrote the date, and this was the month in September. I nature journaled every single day, and I challenged people on Instagram that if I didn't post my nature journal page on Instagram by 9 p.m. at night and they caught me not nature journaling that day, then I would owe them $20. And I missed one day, but no one caught me, and so I didn't owe anyone $20. But that was just a challenge that I created for myself. And here on this page, I didn't have very much inspiration, but I drew these leaves here, and I asked the question, what is nature journal? Sometimes nature journaling every day just means drawing some leaves in black and white, tackling some stark core shadows that challenge you. Draw some foreshortened bromeliad leaves and write a few sentences describing what you actually did. So nature journaling doesn't need to be really hard or complicated. This probably took me 10 minutes. And doing something like nature journaling every day, though, is definitely really powerful. And if you're too worried about what it's going to look like or whether you can draw well or not, you'll never do it. But just getting started and getting in the habit's the most important. So here's some more nature journaling at the beach. This is some kelp, so I'm going to write down the page numbers 16 and see if there's any other ones related to that subject. And sometimes it's good to write down, you know, like in your index who you were with, so if you, or what location you're at. So depending on what information you're interested in, you could have some type of code in the back of your index showing the same location. So if you're at the same location over and over again, like I've been at this beach called Salmon Creek, maybe I could just create a symbol here for Salmon Creek, and I think I'll just do an abbreviation. And then in the index, I will be able to see every time that I'm at Salmon Creek. Come on, camera. Eventually, I'm going to have to get a new document camera, but right now I just kind of set this thing up, which is not made for document camera. Okay, so 15, 16. It will refocus though in a second. 15, 16. I was nature journaling kelp, and I was at Salmon Creek again, and that's it. You could also write the dates down in your index if you wanted to. Whatever is important for you, and the most important thing is to start doing it, and that way get practice doing it. Ooh, hey, Sharon's here. Hi, Sharon. Good thing I took a moment to say hi to everyone who's here because it seems like the camera got better when I did that. Hi, Anita. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Melian. Doodling, yes, Melian, that's a really good point. Okay, sounds like your battery is low. I'll see you later. Okay, I'm gonna keep going with this. Try not to spill too much chocolate on my pages while I'm doing this. Okay, here was just a plain old journaling exercise. Morning pages that I was doing with this teenager. Has anyone here ever done morning pages before where you just try to fill pages with writing? Ooh, dead pelican. Okay, so this is something that I'm definitely going to put into my index. Did joint comparison. This was also at Salmon Creek, so that same location. I'll put that down. 19. And you can use different fonts. This would be a good place to experiment with different fonts and bubble letters and stuff like that to bring hierarchy of information. Okay, dead pelican, Salmon Creek. Where are we? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna speed up a little bit here. 20, 20 and 21, 23 and 24 are all journal daily. So 20, 21, 23, 24, 20, 21, 20, 21, 23, 24 daily pages. Okay, now I know I'm at 25, so that means I can use more space. Okay, this is a cool one. This was a really fun dissection that I did. If you haven't done Nature Journal any dissections, I highly recommend it. So I dissected this cactus fruit. I also had some seedlings of it, so incorporated that, and I also tried to use a circle. Oh, you can see here how I'm using that Tombow pin. Remember I talked about how it's really good for layout. So you can see here how I didn't even go with everything that I originally planned, and some of the marks are kind of sketchy and not even in alignment, but they still look okay because it's such a pale color and you can draw on top, and then you can come back with your darker colors and your watercolor and go right on top. So that's one thing that I was talking about that I do with this, and you can see that helped me get a cool layout. And I think layout's really important in an index as well, but especially on your nature journal pages. And using this Tombow pin and kind of planning things out in advance, and even figuring out how much space there is for your titles is really, really important. If you don't figure out how much space, you end up with that thing where the words have to start getting squished near the end of the page. So 22, I'm going to make a little bit more of an entry for that one because I think that one's cool. I could even, use bubble numbers for that. And I'll draw a cactus on that one. And you can use images as much as you want, You could also do things where you come back with watercolor and do blocks that connect the different concepts. I'll probably come back and do watercolor. Okay. Ooh, 25, spider, okay. Let's see, 25. And that was from someone I follow on Instagram that posts lots of spider pictures. So I'm at page 25, so I know that I have half of this page left. And that means I don't need to worry about, doing things like this to fill less page. So I'm going to draw the actual spider a little bit here. or like a cartoon version. This is a good place to practice your cartoon versions of things. Just get the basic ideas. And I can't remember the name of this spider, but it was really, it looked like it had these leg warmers on it. It was really crazy. And that was from a photo that this lady on Instagram took. Drawing from photo. Okay, so you can see there how this will be way easier for me to read and find things when I come back on this in a couple years, and I'll be able to see this, and this might remind me of the drawing and that page. Help me find it. Put some leg warmers on that spider because that was kind of the cool part. Okay. Moving forward. Okay, so here's another surf journal page. So that's a collection. I can go back and add that to here. Hopefully I'll have room for all the numbers. 27 and 28. So you don't need to put both page numbers if it's something that's contiguous like that. I think your brain will figure that out. Okay, 29 and 30 is kind of a mixture here, but this was nature journaling. I think this was when I tried to nature journal, attract the sharks, and draw the sharks. So 29, that was a nature journal without fear. And that's at another location, Bodega Bay, so I'll put that place name there. And the light. Come on, let's see if I can fix this light real quick. Hold on one moment. Nope. One moment, please, as I try to fix the lighting situation. This camera's not really good at adjusting to the light, so maybe if I just eat a little bit of chocolate. Is that better or is that the same? Come on. Okay. So hopefully I'll be able to invest in a new document camera soon and won't have as much issues with this. Okay, time to draw sharks. Do a cartoon version of a shark. A lot of times filming paper is just hard because the paper is so white compared to everything else. Maybe the fact that my desk is black is not helping. Okay, then this was homework pages. Oh, more stuff from Bodega Bay and birds. So let's see, 30, I kind of combined things, 30, 31, 30, 31, practice, sharks, 30, 31. Practice, and then I'm going to mark these landscapes because these are cool, and I want to be able to find these later. So 32. Those are landscapitos. I can make a symbol for landscapito too, and since I have plenty of space, might as well use it. See how easy it is to make little symbols for things. And as you do this indexing, it's not just about making this on paper, but it's making the connections in your brain. So if you do this after your nature journal pages, it makes you reflect on these different outings and that way in your memory, these will be more connected, and you'll also remember like, oh, what are the things that are in that one nature journal, and when you see it on the shelf later, you'll have a better memory of it because you've already reprocessed it. That's one of the most important things about memory is the times that you go over it and have to put it into an organization, you remember it better. Just like with studying. If you review your notes when you get home and then reorganize them into a new system, that will help you remember the information a lot better. Okay, so here was all planning for Grand Canyon layout. So this was basically like pages that I did thinking about how I'm going to organize my layout for my Grand Canyon trip. So I'm just going to write, oh, and then this will be a cool place to do kind of like a big shift because I'm going from all the stuff that I did at home to the stuff that I did while I was in the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to write, I'm going to make like a big, and this would be something that would be perfect to do with like the Tombow pen. So let's see how pale this one is. Maybe it's even too pale. So that's kind of cool. See how I can do that. And then I can just do like even something really big like this because I have space. And then when that dries, it can come in with my darker pen and outline it. And another thing I could do is like put the dates. You have to have the dates somewhere in your nature journal. Once you start getting a lot of nature journals on a bookshelf on your wall, having some type of dates that are easy to see is important, or else you can never find anything. And that's something that's starting to happen to me. I have like 40 nature journals back there on my wall, and I don't have a really good system for searching through them. So this Grand Canyon trip was from, first let me put down page 34. And that was like a practice layout. Come on, light. Work better. There we go. It's better now. This camera, sorry about it. Okay, continuing onward. Practice layout for GC. And then this is the first day of the trip. So this is actually leaving in the morning, getting ready to go to the Grand Canyon. And then this is that night at our first camp spot on the way to the Grand Canyon. And so what I'm actually going to do here is put that in. And that's 35, 36 are both pre-trip. So 35, 36, beginning of trip. Trip Mojave, because we were in the Mojave Desert. And so I'll put that in a little bit bigger of letters because that's going to be one of the keywords that helps me remember what that was all about. And then the next day we saw a rattlesnake. So I'm going to definitely put down a note of that. So 37 was still in the Mojave. And then that way, like if in the future I want to look back on how many times have I nature journaled rattlesnakes, I will be able to find that more easily. And if without an index, that could be a lot harder to find. So I'm going to draw like some kind of simplified rattlesnake. It's going to look really cartoony, but I'm not worried about it. Whoa, even more cartoony than I was expecting. And put the tail in there. Okay, now you could probably recognize that as a rattlesnake from really far away, so that's the goal here. Right, does that look like a rattlesnake? Sort of. So that was really cool. Okay, first mile 0 of the actual Colorado River. That's exciting. So let's see, that's page 38. So let's see, how can I simplify this information, because it's going to start getting very full. I might be able to do it by mile. I could also put in interesting things that we see, so like condor. I could put in what camp we were at. There's a lot of decisions when making a index of what you're going to include and what you're not going to include. So I have to be kind of thoughtful about what's important and what's too much. If you put in too much information, you won't be able to find anything. So maybe I'll put, I could even just put like first 3 days. And then I'll put like a condor drawing, a little condor sketch there. You know, really basic. And I think that's good for page 39 through 41. And what I'll do is I'll draw this tarantula in Redwall Cavern, so that I know those things are also on this page. And Redwall Cavern is a big landmark, so I'll just write that on here. That was also a fun landscape to paint, so I want to remember that and be able to find that. So that's page 41. So yeah, 39 through 41. Okay, now 42, page 42, 43, 44, all kind of the same. So 43 through 44, let's see, went through the Roaring 20s, so I guess what day are we even at? Not very far in, yeah, mile 35 and to Nankoweap. So let's see, 42 through 45. All right, I'm gonna try to move my camera a little bit here and see if I can troubleshoot this problem slightly, because I'm really sorry how this is. Maybe being a little bit further away will actually help. Hopefully that will be a little bit better. This is a pretty improvised setup that I have with the camera here. It's not very professional, but that's okay. Not being precious about it. Just like with your nature journaling, if you focus too much on getting all the most expensive tools right at the beginning, you might not actually ever create anything, and creating the stuff is more important. So fancy, better tools shouldn't be what holds you back. Now I'm starting to notice that there's little bits of chocolate on a lot of these pages. That's really funny. Look, there's I can see chocolate right there. See that? And that's not from the Grand Canyon, because we didn't really have that much chocolate in the Grand Canyon, unfortunately. Okay, 42. Okay, I definitely have to do. So this is something that's just beckoning to be simplified into some kind of cool image for my index. So I'm gonna draw like a, whoa, I'm going to draw like a nautiloid, the conical kind shell here. And then the thing about that is like, you don't even need to read any words. If you can see that, you'll know exactly what's on that page. I see that Eric Morgan is commenting. Yes, absolutely. Same with photography. If you worry so much about getting expensive cameras or watching videos on YouTube about what's the best camera, you'll spend all your time doing that and not go out and take any photos. So thanks, Eric. It's a good point. Okay, Nautiloid Canyon 40 is 42 and 45. I'm going to write plant aspect because I did this diagram showing plant aspect. And which camp is this? I think this is at, I'm supposed to write the camp down next to the drawing. That was a mistake. Shoot. Eminence? This might be it. Yeah, this was at Eminence Camp. Okay, great. Woo. Eminence Camp. That was Cooper's 30th birthday. Trip leader's birthday was on the trip. How cool would it be to have your birthday in the Grand Canyon? Eminence Camp. Okay, so that's to 45, so I'm almost halfway through the index here. This has some cool individual organisms on it and Nankoweap. So there's a big landscape. I'm going to make sure that's really clear. And I only have 5 more pages to go, so I'm going to make these ones big, and also that'll just help me find these pages, which are actually pretty cool. So that's why your index, if you created in advance like a bunch of lines and tell yourself that you're going to dedicate the same amount of space to each page in your nature journal, that might not be the smartest idea for your index, because some of the pages are going to be much more interesting and deserve more attention. So like 45, say Nankoweap. You can also always rewrite that number. So like if this went from 42 to 45, but then at 45 there's a really cool landscape, I can still, you know, write that number again, highlight it, and write out landscape Nankoweap, because I painted a landscape of Nankoweap there, or at Nankoweap, I should say. But then I'll be able to find that way more easily later on. And let's see, what do I have on 46? Some cool animals. So I'm going to just draw a little bit of a canyon wren. Oh my gosh, that's a terrible canyon wren. Just like a little cartoon of a canyon wren. And a collared lizard go in the opposite direction because all of the animals are pointing in the same direction right now. Now this collared lizard, this is something that I want to see ever since I was a little kid. So I was so stoked to see this animal in the Grand Canyon. Super cool. Wish I could have nature journaled it longer, but there, I just draw a collar on it and I'll know exactly what it is. Okay, so I got those things for this page. 47, super cool. Got to see the chub, a humpback chub there at the Little Colorado River confluence. Super cool. That definitely deserves a big circle, because that's a great page that I want to be able to find more easily in the future. It can be shortened to LCR, Little Colorado River, but I'll write it out. You can get really fancy with this, especially if you're not making a live YouTube video at the same time that you're doing it, and you can play around a lot with the writing, you know, like block letters, small letters, different colors. You can go back in and make boxes, organize things a little bit better than I have so far. And then the other thing I want is the humpback chub. So I'll just draw a humpback chub. Whoa. Sometimes it's fun drawing when you actually like are really not worrying about the outcome. So hopefully I'll know that that's a humpback chub and not a, it looks like one of those dolphins in the Amazon kind of. I mean, that one's better, but then these are the ones that drew from life. So that's actually on page 47 and 48. So I will 47, draw 47 and draw 48, the numbers there. Okay. At this rate, it's going to take me 2 hours to create the index. So 49, rattlesnake camp. I see Eric Morgan posted. Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate it. Just so you know, this one was drawn based on photos, and these are the sketches that I did that night when we saw the humpback chub swimming in the water. Obviously, drawing moving fish is a lot harder at night underwater. But yeah, this one's based on some photos and stuff. And yeah, thanks. Appreciate your comment. 49, rattlesnake camp. I did landscapes there too because it was really cool. These are some paintings I did. I did 3 of the same view, and you can see these 2 were based. Oh my gosh, this was so cool. I was sitting in the water. I have this chair, and I set it up, and the water was maybe like 6 to 10 inches deep. And I set up, it was really hot in the middle of the day. I set up my chair sitting in the water. So I was partially in the water and painting this landscape, fully covered up because the sun will burn you down there. And painted these 2 landscapes. And then the next morning I came out at sunrise and painted this version where I tried to get the light just barely hitting the tops there. All right, so maybe I'll do a little image showing that. Rattlesnake camp landscapes. Like I could try drawing, I think that was like Solomon's Temple. They have all these weird names for the landmarks in the Grand Canyon. And then hopefully, you know, this little bit of a drawing will help me find this page later or remember what it is. So that looks kind of like it. Okay, cool. That was at 6 a.m. in the morning. Oh, okay, page 51. These are all the, this was one of our cocktail nights on the river. And yes, it is possible to have cocktails in the Grand Canyon. And this was probably like day 4 or something. And I did these, these are blind contour drawings of all the other people on the trip. So when you do a blind contour drawing, you're not looking at the paper. So you're basically just looking up at a person and kind of drawing all at the same time. And when you can't look at the paper, you don't know where your pen is on the paper. So the drawings can come out really crazy. 51, 52. Okay, so 51. And I'll just draw like a funny face in here. It's hard to pretend draw a blind contour drawing. It's like you can't fake it that easily. You can tell when it's a blind contour drawing and when it's not. Blind contour and 52 was cocktails, so I'll draw like a martini glass or something. So when you're doing your index, don't get precious about making really great drawings. Just even if you include any drawings at all or some bigger text or whatever, that's going to really improve how easy it is to find stuff in there. So I'm going to go back and add a little bit to this part here. Maybe that will even make the camera be able to focus on this page a little bit better. And if you're doing any kind of nature journaling or sketching, I think it's really good to practice doing different text. And I think the difference between text and image is not super old. Like there you can look up the history of how images turned into letters, and actually there's some really cool comic book artists, well, mainly just one, who talks about that evolution, and how in comics is one place where you see how words are often used purely as like a visual element. And so I think for nature journalers and other sketchers, it's really good to practice, like you need to at least know how to do some bubble letters, and use text as like a visual element, because I think it's friggin' cool. And look at, there's certain things you can do that you couldn't otherwise visually achieve that design goal. Okay, so 53, this was on a hike, 53, 54, so I'm going to write that down, 53, 54 tabernacle hike. So now I'm already in my 50s, so I'm going to go on to my second page here, and hopefully fit this in here. Come on, camera. You can do it. Okay, 53, 54. One thing is it's really easy to get confused with this pen, if it's the gray side or the black side you're drawing with. So now I'm thinking one thing I could do with these, I created these little boxes here. And with these boxes, I could do something, and this idea would be stealing from bullet journals, but what I could do is in these boxes, I could maybe just put the page numbers that are like the coolest pages, like highlights, or like a collection. So in bullet journaling, there's this concept of a collection where you have basically a theme or a topic that there's multiple pages of your journal that show that topic, and you have like one spot where you just say surf journal pages, or you could say birds, and in your index that thing would have all of the pages in your whole nature journal that had bird drawings. All right, 53, 54 tabernacle hike. We hiked up this crazy trail. I thought I was gonna die. And part of the trail you're walking on the narrowest little bit of shale rock, and if you stepped wrong to either side, you're just gonna fall off this cliff, and the rock is like crumbly, like those slate roofs that they have in some parts of the world. It's kind of like that. It's slippery and crumbly at the same time. And it's like this. It's basically like walking on this right here isn't just one thing that points up. This is like this long extended thing, that narrow, and it's like walking along that. And it was a 2,000-foot hike up from Rattlesnake Camp, and the hiking book said that it was an easy hike and you should try doing it by moonlight. But then when I did the hike with the rest of the group, I was like, this is a crazy hike. And we did get some cool views of these different landforms from up there. But I was really interested to know what the book would consider a difficult hike. I didn't go on a lot of the hikes because I was usually trying to nature journal. And like on this hike, I brought my whole journaling kit with me and only got to do like, I did all of these drawings right here in like 6 minutes while we were at maybe 10 minutes that we were at the top of the very top of the hike, and while everyone else was taking photos and stuff. So the rest of the trip, I ended up usually staying in one spot and while other people hiked so I could draw more. This page, oh my gosh, there's so much chocolate on this page. That is kind of funny and kind of not funny. Well, that's one of the cool things about nature journaling as opposed to creating like science illustrations or something fancy I'm going to try to sell on Etsy is it. And also that's one of the benefits about like this cumulative aesthetic. So this page right here doesn't depend on any single drawing holding the whole thing together. So this page has a cumulative aesthetic effect because there's a lot of interesting drawings on here. And there's text. And so little bits of chocolate on the page aren't that distracting. Now, if this were a single like illustration of just this scorpion, that would be a lot harder. And if anything were wrong with that, it would take away from the whole a lot more. Okay, onwards. So let's see, that's where I'm at right now, 55. So that's like a really important page. So make that one stand out. And maybe I can even draw like the scorpion somehow wrapping around right here. Sorry if you don't like arachnids or bugs. I know that's something that a lot of people have, that fear. And sometimes I get comments on my Instagram when I post pictures of bugs. People get freaked out. So sorry. And that is something that you can work on and get better over time. And I think the most important thing is, if you're an adult, is try to help kids not develop that fear, because you know, like especially with girls in our society, they get trained to be afraid of certain creatures, and it's oftentimes a way that their peers or their older brothers or uncles or whatever kind of hold power over them or mess with them, and it's not good. But anyways, what ends up happening is we have a lot of people in our society who are irrationally afraid of certain creatures that are actually like really interesting, and it's often a totally dumb reason that we're afraid of them. They're usually not actually more dangerous than other things that we aren't afraid of, you know, such as dogs, and who actually end up biting lots of people every year. More people get hurt by dogs than scorpions. But anyway, so just saying, if you are an adult, a parent or a grandparent or something, be really, or an educator, be really aware in your interactions with children not to, you know, train them to be irrationally afraid of certain things for no reason. Okay, so there's a little scorpion showing that, and that was really cool. We used black lights to find scorpions in the desert, classic desert nighttime activity, and that's the way they glowed. So this is what the daytime coloration would look like, and this is what what they look like when they are reflecting the UV light. Okay, so here I have a day thing. I should have done that on more pages. So we're now at 56. So 56, day 9. And I think that's when we entered the inner gorge. So we're 91 miles, day 9, 91 miles. And I think that's when we entered the inner gorge. So I'm going to draw a little picture kind of showing the deep gorge that we had entered. Very interesting part of the Grand Canyon with some of the oldest rock that can be found in the Grand Canyon. Some of the oldest rock exposed on Earth. Okay. And so here's Hatwata Camp, day 57. I mean, I wish it was day 57, page 57. I'm going to write great unconformity because that's a really cool thing, geological thing to see. And you can put your finger on over 1 billion years of missing time in the geologic record, which is really cool. 58 is just plants, so I'm going to skip that. It's okay to skip pages. You don't have to index everything. Oh, well, I'll do 58, 59 plants. 58, 59. So plants would be another example of like a collection. You could just have the word in your index plants like in a box right here, because your index doesn't necessarily have to even go in order. That's not the most important thing. You could have like a box right here and you just say plants there, and then the whole thing is full of all the pages where you drew plants. 10:59, 58, 59. Ooh, this part was really cool. These tracks, these beaver tracks. Beavers in the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to write 60 through 62 beaver. And I'm going to draw a cartoon of a beaver, but this is going to be hilarious. So last time I tried to draw a beaver without looking at a reference, it came out terrible. So let's see how I do this time. Just the key is to get the teeth, even if you fake it on the teeth. And don't worry about the feet. If you try to draw the feet too much, it looks bad. I'm gonna have to hold this up to the camera, but I don't know if it'll show. So I forgot what page that is. Oh God, 60 through 62 beaver. And I should draw like a track because the tracks were really cool. Really cool tracking mystery. And those are totally fake beaver tracks. That's not what they look like at all. But just to create sort of like an icon here. Because you're in your index, you're doing icons. You're not doing realistic drawings in your index. Check this out. I'm going to switch cameras real quick to show you this. Look at this beaver drawing. So icons don't need to look great. I mean, it looks really goofy. I'm not sure what's wrong with the face, but I think having a little bit of humor is good. And now I'm going to switch camera back. Having a little bit of humor is good and helps you remember things better. But just to show you that I can draw a really bad beaver too. Okay, page 62. All right, where are we at now? 63 asters. Cool. Okay, so this is another example of plants. Now I'm wishing I had done something with just plants. But I'll add it. I'll sort of improvise here. 63. I'll add it here next to where I have plants already started. And maybe I'll like add some roots to this thing or something so it looks more plant-like. And some leaves would be good too. And so I'm going to turn this into a collection over here. So maybe I'll just put, you know, kind of like a bubble around it there. See how I'm doing that? And then that's going to be where I put all my stuff about plants. So 63 was plants, right? 63. And I'll write asters because I did some asters, a lot of asters. Another landscape. Ooh, I should do something for black and white landscapes because I know I have multiples. Yeah, I'll do that over here. Black and white landscape. And then I'll just write the page numbers under that. 64. Okay, cool. More plants. So 65 and 66 and 67. So I'll put that over here. 65, 66, 67. And then what I'll do is I'll do a second entry for this one, 66. And that's day 12. So having some variation in what your words look like is going to be really important because otherwise this can just turn into a big jumble. Also spacing things out so it's not too squished together is really going to help. Talking Heads Camp was the name of that. So maybe instead of using words, I can create a drawing for that one. Those are supposed to be talking heads. bring the camera a little bit closer here. Okay, maybe I should invest in an actual document camera for this kind of thing. Okay, so that's page 66. Where are we at now? 67, I got 67, 68. These are both pages where I have rapids. So maybe I can draw some fluid dynamic stuff going on here, like a standing wave forming below an obstruction. And can't really tell what that is. That didn't work out very well, but that's okay. So page 67 and 68. All right, 67 and 68. Water. How about I just write water? And that's the physics of water. Something I want to nature journal more is the abiotic stuff. So how do rapids form? What are the physics behind that? And I know I have some more on another page. Okay, here's just a big landscape, but this is mostly going to be about this igneous rock that intruded here. This is a diabase sill. I think it's almost like basalt that got squeezed into these sedimentary layers, and that's at Talking Heads also. So I'm going to write diabase sill. Ooh, I love this drawing. This was so fun to draw. This is at Deer Creek Narrows, so page 71. When it's a more important drawing, you can make the numbers bigger or the title bigger or use bubble letters or something like that. I'm not going to try to draw a little version of it because I think that'll be really hard. But 71 Deer Creek Narrows. Okay. Waterfall is an important drawing. That's page 74. I'll also make that really big over here. That was also at Deer Creek. That was a big day. That was like this was like a 3-hour drawing. And this was like a 2-hour drawing. So that was a really big day for me. Those were back to back while other people were on a hike. Big day. Waterfall. I was actually sitting in the bottom of the waterfall getting sprayed. Like I can still feel on this page the minerals from the water, and you can see how the spray affected this watercolor wash. So if you look over here, you can see all these little white spots. That's from the spray from the waterfall landing on here while I was drawing it. It's kind of like a fancy wet on wet technique, but the waterfall helped me out with it. Okay, so continuing to work on this index. See, if I just did this with all of my nature journals, it would make things a lot easier. Okay, 78, nighttime drawings at ledges. 78, nighttime drawings. Um, 79, Mauve Gorge, day 15. That was the cold day. My fingers were numb while I was drawing this right here. This was in the morning before coffee? I think so. Day 15, so page 79. Day 15. This is like halfway through the trip at this point. Kind of sad. Well, no, more than halfway. Did I say more than halfway through the trip? Um, and let's see, Confluence. So I'm going to say Mauve Gorge and Confluence. Actually, that's a separate. Let me put a whole new one for that. That's Havasu Creek. That was an awesome day. So 79, 80. Havasu Creek. First Ocotillo plants. So this is a perfect example of that collection. The benefit of that collection thing. Let me eat some chocolate. So right here, this page has a lot of different information on it, but it does have a plant entry. Now, since I'm doing this collection thing here, is kind of perfect because I can have a thing here that says page 80 Havasu Creek, but then over here under plants, I can also just write page 80. You know what I'm saying? That way later on, if I want to look at all the plant drawings, I can just go through here, but I still have this thing that says Havasu Creek, and maybe I'll even write first Ocotillo there. So there's a lot of different decisions like that to make and different ways that things can be organized. Fossils, I still need to add to this page. These are some fossils that I drew. That was really cool. I want to draw depositional environments here, but there's also landscapes. So that could be one of these collections here is I could just write landscapes and then put all the page numbers. I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to write landscapes here. And then I'm going to write all the page numbers there. I also have a collection for black and white landscapes, but that'll be separate. So 81, this is Tuck Up Camp. This was a layover day. 81, I'm going to write the camp name. And I'm going to write fossils. Okay, that's a big landscape, so I might as well start adding these numbers into here, even though I don't know where it starts, but 81, 82, and I should put a big thing here, so 82, and that's from Tuck Up Camp landscape. Okay, 84 plants, invasive plants, tamarisk. Actually, I never identified what this one was, this little yellow flower. So 83, 84, add that into here. Plants, more plants, 85. That was super cool. That's the Jimson weed. I should make a separate entry for that. Hornworm, tobacco hornworm. In this case, Jimson weed hornworm. And so I'm going to make a special entry for that. That's page 85. So start thinking about your space here, especially if you're like me and you have this is actually on the board, and I could go on a rant about this, but the front and back of your sketchbook have paper, a lot of times really quality paper, just as good as the rest of your pages, if not better, glued onto the board of the cover, and that's perfectly good place to draw or to put your index. So I allotted myself 2 pages. I have a 100-page book, and so I should be paying attention as I get to here that I don't go over or go too slow, and that way I can use my space appropriately. 85, I'm going to say hornworm. Maybe I'll draw a little caterpillar to represent the hornworm. And Jimson weed. I'm going to just put Datura because that's the genus. and easy to remember. So, and then I've got it already there, but you can see I did that little caterpillar and put Datura, that page. Let's see. Okay, next page. Ooh, we survived Lava Falls, one of the most dangerous rapids in the Grand Canyon. And we get to this camp, and look at all this black lava, solid black rock. Really crazy. So page 86, I'll probably add some pages in here later, but for now, 86, and that's day 17. I wish I had done that system the whole way. So you can see here the way I used the bubble letters for day 17, bubble letters for Lava Falls, bubble letters for Solanaceae. This isn't my index, but it has a hierarchy of information as well. And using different texts helps things stand out more. And I didn't follow this the whole way, and I wish I had. But if at every entry I had this, it would make things really a lot easier to find. Day 17. Post lava falls, post lava, and cactus. Oh, and that's a landscape. So landscape goes page 86. Landscape goes here, 82, 86. Okay. 87 and 88 are both a big landscape, but it's also going to be a diagram. 87, 88. About volcanic rock and lava dams, baby. So I'm just going to write lava dams because I'm going to add to that later. There used to be, they hypothesized that these, this is all lava. So this is old lava that flowed down and at certain times in the past filled up the Grand Canyon and literally created natural dams that held up as much water as the dams on the Colorado River do today. And so that's pretty crazy, and you can see the remains of that in these lava flows next to all the sedimentary rock, which has a totally different look to it. And then what would have happened is at certain points those dams would have failed, and just massive amounts of water would have rushed out, causing huge erosion events. So I'm going to do an entry about that, and it's going to be a fun one. So I want to make in my index like a bigger entry for that. Fly Guys is asking, where do I get these pins? I don't have any affiliate links yet, but you can get these like on Jet Pins. You can get at your local art store, or you can, I think they might be on Amazon too, but I would check your local art store first. And then there's this place called jetpins.com. So these are Pilot, and they're Futu. That's the only word in English on here, and I always forget if it's food. I have a whole episode about it. If you go to my playlist, I have on my YouTube channel homepage, I have a playlist called Nature Journal Supplies, and if you go into that playlist, you'll see there's a whole video about these brush pens, the pros and cons. I talk about this one. I compare this one to other ones. I would recommend watching that video before you buy any. Good question. This pen right here is like my all-time favorite art supply right now. Maybe even up there with my my watercolor palette at this point. Okay, so 87, 88 lava falls. I mean, oh shoot, lava dams. See, I made a mistake. That's the problem when you're talking and drawing at the same time. So if I was all precious about this, I would probably cry. I might still cry, but since I'm not being precious, I'm just going to cross it out since I am using ink, and I'm just going to write lava dams. But when you do this in your nature journal, when you add an index to your nature journal, you're not going to be making a YouTube video at the same time and talking at the same time, so you won't have that problem. Yeah, fly guys, no worry. That was a good question about the pins. Check out that video. Anyone else who's interested in these pins, I recommend checking out that video. Okay, 8990. Add that to landscapes because that's a landscape painting. Speaking of the pins, you can see here that I use the gray pin a lot of times as my initial sketch in these watercolor landscapes, the gray side of this pin, and then afterwards I can watercolor over it, and it can leave a painting that looks almost like it's just pure direct watercolor. But with the benefits of being able to plan in ink. And then afterwards I can come back with the black pen if I want to on the foreground and add details. And then I can do all my writing with the gray pen. And I used to carry microns on my nature journal expeditions and try to use microns for my writing. But microns just annoy me. I just have not had for me, I have to hold my pen a certain way for it to even be able to work. Like if I angle my pen, it doesn't work. So what I found is now I can do great drawings with these, but I can also do great text. So I do all of my text with this same pen right now, and it just means I don't have to carry anywhere near as much stuff either. So 8990, add that. That's Parashant Camp. Running out of pages, so making sure if it's a big idea to give it space. 8990. Shant. Ooh, this was cool. 91. I sat by this plant for 20 minutes and drew every single insect that came to the plant. That's 91. I'm going to draw some. Well, they're not all insects, are they? Actually, they all are insects. Okay, 91. Let's draw like a bee. Oh, man, there were so many cool bees and wasps and freaking tarantula hawks and stuff that were coming there. I kind of wish I had like a hand lens. I mean, I used my close focus binoculars, but something else would have been cool too. Oh, and there was like one of the biggest bumblebees I've ever seen in my life. And some of the littlest bees too. Okay, so pollinators. I'll just say pollinators, even though they might not all have been pollinators. Pollinators count or survey. Because that was kind of like a survey. That's a really fun nature journaling strategy, is just to sit next to a plant that seems to be attracting a lot of bugs, especially like something, with nectaries or pollen sources, and then just watch like all the stuff that comes there in a given amount of time. So I'm not even going to index this page. This is just some experiments. 93. Ooh, more landscape. 93, 94. Those are some of my last pages before the night float, because on the last bit of the river, like the last 40 miles, we floated out at night. 94, 95. That's the last page. 95 is a landscape. Okay, 94. Let me get this correct here. 93, 94. Parashant still. No, 93 is Parashant. '94 is mile 220. I can't even remember the camp name there, but that was when we were getting set up for the night float. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down here as sort of like our last supper or something. So this is mile 220, page 94. I'm going to follow this, try to follow, if for example your day numbers, you're always doing the same way, try to get in an order of repetition, you know? So day, oh, I don't know what day it is. It's mile 220. We're mile 220. Last day. How about that? Day 21, I guess. Right before night float, I'll add that. So there's a lot of decisions about how much information to include in an index. And that's up to you and depends on your goals, but just start experimenting with it. And you can only you learn a lot more from trying things than from not trying it. Okay, that's my last, 95 is my last landscape in this book. I did my waterproof journal during the night float. And then this is just going to be planning pages. So 96 is just planning pages. And you probably heard me talk about these sticky notes before, but these sticky notes are great. These big ones, they're really useful for organizing things inside of your nature journal. And I'm going to write 96 planning. You don't need to write in your index what page your index is on. That might seem obvious. All right, so that's basically it. I could come in and do watercolor to this, and that's what I did on my other one. So you can see my index from my Ecuador trip. I did watercolor and colored in all the index. And you can see on this one, I fit everything into a single page instead of two. So all the way from page 1 to page 91 or whatever, it all fit onto one page. And you can see how I use these simple washes, and look at how color really organizes it. So I think I'm going to leave this one black and white for now, but I could take my watercolor and go back in here and add color, like to these different text bubble letters, or to, like, you know, if this caterpillar were green, that would make it pop out so much more. So maybe I'll do that later. Let's see, what else could I do? But yeah, that's basically it for creating an index. And you know, this is something I think, you know, it took me like an hour, but it won't take you that long if you're not making a video about it. And it really provides something useful, because at a certain point, you're going to have a lot of nature journals like I do. Like I have like almost 40 back there, and it can be really hard to find stuff. And so later in the future, you might be really interested in, like, how did I draw macaws when I was in Ecuador? Or how did I draw beaver tracks? And you can just go in here and find it way, way faster. So the next thing that I'm working on is how to put information on the front so I can find like the year or whatever more easily. But those are just some tips. Thanks for watching along. I'm going to be making more Studio Sunday live shows on Sundays, talking about what you can do in your nature journal in your studio. And I'm going to continue to make the Nature Journal show episodes every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you ate some chocolate during this show. I know that I did, not the whole thing, but maybe like 1/3 of it. So thanks for joining in, and I will see you next week on Wednesday night or on Sunday afternoon. Bye.